Hello there, you're with me, Azara Tagaya, and this is Nightline, the top stories. Local businessmen table 50 billion ringgit offer to take over plus toll rates to be fixed at 3 ringgit. And suspected separatists kill at least 15 in Yala. Good morning. Malaysian Institute of Economic Research (MIER) is studying a proposal to acquire Plus for over 50 billion ringgit. The bid was brought forward by a local businessman with support of a group of companies that could also see toll rates to be fixed at 3 ringgit.
In one case, there is already made a proposal, but wants us to review it to see whether it is really viable or doable or not. And their cost of fund is much lower than what some of other people who have to raise bonds in order to finance pembelian plus dan lain-lain hal itu. Ada individu dalam negara ataupun ada individu dalam negara, saya boleh sebutkan.
He was speaking to the media on the sidelines of a discourse par excellence themed Shared Prosperity Economy Lessons and Measures in Kuala Lumpur on Wednesday. Tan Sri Kamal said the cost of fund from the new proposal is much lower compared to others who wanted to raise bonds in order to finance the takeover. He added the offer will also involve some cross-subsidies elements involving land swap or the right to develop some of the land. The study on the proposal will be presented to the Prime Minister by year end. In the meantime, the government is still scrutinising the various proposals received to take over Khazana National Berhad's 51% stake in Plus Malaysia Berhad. Economic Affairs Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmin Ali said the government was evaluating the impact of the takeover from the financial aspect and in fulfilling the responsibility to highway users by reducing the cost of using it.
Kita belum ada keputusan sebab sekarang ini dimiliki oleh Khazanah 51 dan EPF 49. Well, technically pun kedua-dua ini adalah investment arm of the government. Jadi kita melihat bagaimana mereka boleh membantu mendukung dasar kerajaan untuk mengurangkan tambang ataupun tol di lebuh raya yang berkenaan. Well, I've not seen the proposal kerana saya percaya perkara ini sedang diteliti oleh KKR. Okay?
He was speaking after the Malaysia SDG Summit 2019 on Wednesday. Datuk Seri Azmin said this when asked to comment on a news report that the Finance Ministry would take over Khazana's stake in Plus. According to the news report, the MOF is believed to be eyeing Khazana's stake as Putrajaya seeks to prevent the much sought-after asset from falling into private companies. Digital technology will play a critical role in the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), although innovation will most likely affect progress in both positive and negative ways. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said the deployment of new technologies is seen to be essential in achieving the SDGs, considering the need for accelerated progress to fulfill the goals by 2030.
The deployment of new technologies is seen to be essential in achieving the SDGs, considering the need for accelerated progress to fulfill the goals of 2030. At the same time, as new technologies are usually unavailable to marginalized populations, it will be a key challenge to ensure that no one is left behind.
He was speaking at the opening of Malaysia SDG Summit 2019 in Kuala Lumpur on Wednesday. Tun Dr. Mahathir also said in fulfilling its sustainable development goals, there would be challenges faced by Malaysia and other nations across the globe. He said Malaysia recognized the social complexity of resolving sustainable development problems that will require coordinated action by a range of stakeholders. The Prime Minister added that in line with the country's Shared Prosperity Vision 2030, Malaysia will focus on governance reforms based on two core principles, namely integrity and good governance. The Health Ministry is in the process of allowing the growing of hemp, a type of cannabis plant, for industrial research and not for medical use. Its minister, Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad, said the approval will be subject to the Dangerous Drugs Act, where the ministry has the power to allow a public officer to conduct the research. Speaking at a media conference on Wednesday, Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli said his ministry is awaiting the study by the Water, Land and Natural Resources Ministry and also the Agriculture and Agro-Based Industry Ministry to present to the Health Ministry in the near future.
Ini tergantung kepada dapatan kajian yang dibuat oleh CATS yang antara lainnya menentukan dalam suasana dan with all the soil dan climate dan segalanya, in that given the yield of THC itu semestinya kurang daripada 0.5%. So segalanya akan ditentukan oleh dapatan kajian ini.
Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli was speaking after officiating the Scientific Congress of Asia Pacific Association of Medical Toxicology 2019 in Putrajaya today. He added that his ministry was taking a cautious approach before making a decision, as it was fearful that some might abuse it. At the same time, Pharmaceutical Services Senior Director Dr. Ramli Zainal said the growing of hemp is only for the production of its fibre for the study of its use in the cosmetic and food industry, while the growth of marijuana for medical purposes has not been carried out yet. Drivers having to pay an extra 10% surcharge to use their touch and go cards to pay their parking will soon be a thing of the past. Deputy Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Chong Chen Jen said the touch and go card was still bound by its existing contract with parking operators, and once a new contract is signed, it will end.
Di kawasan tempat kereta yang hanya terdapat infrastruktur touch and go sebagai kaedah pembayaran, tiada charge tambahan akan dikenakan. Walau bagaimanapun, touch and go telah menjalankan inisiatif di mana touch and go akan memastikan semua kontrak baru atau pembaharuan kontrak pada masa akan datang tidak menggunakan sebaran surcharge yang berasaskan merchant discount rate, manakala untuk kontrak yang sedia ada yang berasaskan surcharge akan tamat tempoh secara berperingkat.
He also explained that the 50-cent surcharge to top up the card was imposed by the operators of outlets that provided the service and not imposed by Touch and Go. There were in fact more than 2,800 locations nationwide, such as Touch and Go service counters and other retail outlets that did not impose the top-up surcharge. The government will review and tighten its immigration policy on foreigners. The move comes after Bukit Aman Police cited Malaysia's visa-free policy as one of the main reasons it remains a transit point for terrorists. Home Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said this may include reviewing the country's visa requirements or lack thereof for foreigners from certain countries.
Dari segi dasar immigration, kita kena teliti-lah kaji. Setakat hari ini kalau mana-mana negara nak masuk ke Malaysia ada pasport dan pasport itu tidak dianggap sebagai datang daripada negara yang bermasalah, maka mereka boleh masuk secara mudah. Tapi kalau perlukan visa atas sebab-sebab tertentu, kita imposkan visa. Ya. Itu yang peraturan yang kita ada. Tapi yang penting kita bekerjasama dengan bukan saja dalam negara, luar negara, badan-badan antarabangsa. Dengan pihak-pihak lain, negara lain pun ada menghadapi masalah yang sama. We share information. Jadi kalau sana kata pengganas ini masuk ke sini, bolos di Malaysia, itu bahaya bagi kita.
Tan Sri Muhyiddin said at present foreigners from most countries do not require visas to enter Malaysia unless their stay exceeded a certain period of time. Presently, citizens of less than 50 countries require visas to enter Malaysia, with citizens of other countries only requiring one for a stay exceeding a certain period of time. Last Friday, a US State Department report on terrorism also named Malaysia as a source and transit point for terrorist groups. Bukit Aman Police had said that entering the country without a visa has made Malaysia the first choice of foreign terrorist fighters. Tan Sri Muhyiddin said the report was something that needed to be taken very seriously, as Malaysia Malaysia too has evidence of the country being used as a staging area for extremists. Bukit Aman records showed that since 2013, 38 foreign terrorist fighters who used Malaysia as transit have been arrested. Some were prosecuted while others were deported. On another issue, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said plans to reduce the remand period from 28 days to 14 days for those detained under the Security Offences (Special Measures Act 2012 (SOSMA) is under discussion. He said the reduction in the detention period was one of the proposals received by the ministry. Tan Sri Muhyiddin said the special committee to review SOSMA, which was chaired by him, was consulting stakeholders such as the Bar Council and other relevant organisations before presenting it to the Cabinet for approval before being tabled in Parliament.
Tapi ada juga pandangan kalau begitu mereka mungkin kita bagi 14 hari dan untuk nak menyambung ke lepas 14 hari lagi untuk jadi 28 mesti dibawa ke mahkamah untuk dapat keputusan hakim. Itu satu contoh untuk ada check and balance.
On Tuesday, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad gave assurance that certain provisions in SOSMA would be amended accordingly. The Seremban Sessions Court allowed a prosecution application to dismiss 2 charges of possessing items related to the LTTE terrorist group against Seremban Jaya Assemblyman P. Gunasekaran. Judge Madiha Harullah allowed the application submitted by DPP Aslinda Ahad. According to the charges, the DAP assemblyman allegedly had LTTE-related items in his office and house in Seremban on October 10th. Gunasekaran, who was charged on 2 occasions late last month over LTTE-related cases, was not present in court. He is being held at the Sungai Buloh prison. The assemblyman was represented by a panel of 4 lawyers led by RSN Raya, who is also the Jelutong MP. On October 29th, Gunasekaran, who is also Negeri Sembilan DAP Deputy Chairman, was charged at the Malacca Sessions Court with supporting the LTTE group and faced an additional charge at the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court on October 31st. The Inspector General of Police said that he does not believe that Lotik Jo, also known as Jolo, is hiding in Cyprus. Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Badur said it is impossible for the fugitive Malaysian businessman to leave the country that he has been hiding in easily.
He's there, he's still there, hiding like a chicken. Chicken.
So it is erroneous, Tan Sri.
Yeah, betul.
Cyprus is not the place.
Not the place. Why go there? Lain pula rupanya, kan?
He is in another
Tiba-tiba dia seorang je, orang boleh kenal, boleh cak. Mustahil. And then jangkauan,
Is it a
jangkauan.
small and remote country, Tan Sri?
It's an island.
It's an island,
Yeah.
very remote island.
Betul. Not lah remote. Dekat selatan.
The country's top cop was speaking to the media at the Royal Malaysian Police College in Kuala Lumpur on Wednesday. He noted that there are parties that suggested more unorthodox methods, such as the Mossad way, to get hold of Low. Tan Sri Hamid explained that he continued to hold talks via official and semi-official channels in an ongoing effort to bring Jolo back to Malaysia. The Kuala Lumpur High Court ruled on Wednesday that Tian Chua's disqualification as a GE14 candidate is invalid and that he is free to contest in future elections. On April 28, 2018, the Election Commission's election returning officer Anwar Muhammad Zain had rejected Tian Chua's nomination for the Batu parliamentary seat. This on account of a 2,000 ringgit fine imposed on him in a criminal case in 2017. The sentence was in relation to Chua's conviction for insulting the modesty of a police officer by using foul language 4 years ago. The decision to disqualify him was made according to the election regulations 1981. Anwar read the law, which stated not less than 2,000 ringgit, to mean Chua would only be qualified to contest if the fine was 1,999 ringgit or less. In contrast, the Shah Alam High Court, which allowed Chua's appeal to reduce the fine from 3,000 ringgit to 2,000 ringgit, had indicated that he would only be disqualified if the fine was 2,001 ringgit and above, and not from 2,000 ringgit.
The Inland Revenue Board IRB is set to amplify efforts next year to tackle the issue of missing revenue from the shadow economy, which hovers at around 30 billion ringgit. With that, more IRB staff will be channeled for enforcement from 60% currently to 80%, focusing on foreign business entities.
Kita akan menumpukan kepada pekerja-pekerja asing ataupun warga asing yang terlibat dengan shadow economy, di mana mereka menggunakan lesen atas nama orang tempatan dan kebanyakan mereka ini gagal membayar cukai. Jadi kita telah mengenal pasti mereka ini, terutamanya di Lembah Kelang, seperti di pasar-pasar borong, di dekat mall pun ada, dekat Jalan Tengku Abdul Rahman pun ada, ya. Dan mereka ni ada tauke dia, dan tauke dia sendiri pun orang asing sebenarnya.
He was met after launching the 45th Deloitte Tax Max on Wednesday. Also in focus, locals that derive income from illegal activities such as illegal money lending, prostitution and drug dealing. Meanwhile, the IRB has also stated to conduct field audits since October following the completion of the Special Voluntary Disclosure Program on business entities that fail to provide adequate information. Three individuals, including a judge, charged with accepting bribes. This and more home stories when we return. Back on Nightline, clearing work is still ongoing to clear out the landslide that occurred at Jalan Ayon D. Element in Genting Highlands that blocked access to a hotel. Pahang State Basic Amenities Public Delivery System and Innovation Committee Chairman Datuk Sri Nurul Azali Sulaiman said an alternative route has been opened on Wednesday for some 200 staff and guests who were trapped.
Datuk Sri Nurul Azali, who visited the area, said the wet weather and underground water flow still made the area unstable.
Ya, setakat ini keadaan kalau kita lihat sini keadaan terkawal, walaupun kita tengok masih ada lagi berlaku gerakan tanah sedikit, mungkin disebabkan oleh aliran air daripada atas tu masih lagi bergerak dan dengan keadaan cuaca yang ada pada hari ini. Walaupun kita telah mendapat talimat daripada pihak JMG, ya, mereka di peringkat sekarang ini keadaan terkawal dan mereka akan boleh memberikan laporan dalam tempoh 3 atau 4 hari lagi.
The massive landslide at 5 p.m. on Tuesday was captured on video by the public and luckily no one was hurt in the incident.
Sessions Court Judge Azmil Muntafa Abbas was charged on Wednesday with accepting bribes linked with the detention and release of illegal immigrants last July. Deputy Public Prosecutor Khairul Azwa Yusri Muhammad and private lawyer Nur Amirul Nazrin Anas were also charged over the same graft case. All three pleaded not guilty.
They were accused of accepting bribes totaling 17,500 ringgit from Wong Chiu Hung to drop charges against 7 foreign workers when they were hauled up for prosecution at the Kuala Kubu Baru Sessions Court. Under the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commissions Act, the trio face a jail term of up to 20 years and a minimum fine of 5 times the sum of the bribe or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher if convicted. Azmil also claimed trial to a separate charge of accepting 5,000 ringgit to only fine 6 people convicted of purchasing a lottery ticket. The court set bail at 18,000 ringgit for Azmil and 12,000 ringgit with one shorty for the other 2 and ordered them to surrender their passports. December 16th was fixed for the next court date. In Johor, 2 policemen died while another 3 were injured after a lorry rammed into a roadblock at Pasir Gudang at around 5 a.m. on Wednesday. Police said early investigations showed that the lorry driver lost control and swerved to the left lane and rammed 5 of the policemen and a Land Rover at the side of the road. It is understood that 6 policemen were manning the roadblock during the time of the incident. The 3 injured policemen were rushed to the Sultan Ismail Hospital by the public. In Kuala Lumpur, a fire ripped through a house in Taman Petaling, Kepong Baru on Wednesday, injuring 2 housemates. According to authorities, both victims, a 27-year-old man and a woman aged 28, suffered burns on their bodies. A team of 24 firemen were rushed to the scene and the fire was fully doused at 9:56 a.m. with 90% of the house burnt. Both victims were taken to the Kuala Lumpur hospital for treatment. The cause of the fire was under investigation.
On to the foreign front. Suspected separatist insurgents stormed 2 security checkpoints in Yala province in Thailand, killing at least 15 people, including a policeman and many village defence volunteers. According to Yala Provincial Police Chief Paul Prabal, 4 people were also injured in the incident late Tuesday night. Prabal said at least 10 attackers were involved in the attacks at Mukim Lampaya and Tung Sadao village around 10:15 p.m. local time. It is understood that the militants also used explosives and scattered nails on the roads to delay pursuers. 11 local residents and officials, mainly defence volunteers on duty, including 2 women, were shot dead during the attack, while another 4 later succumbed to their wounds at the Yala hospital. The incident was the worst single attack in years in a region where a separatist campaign has killed thousands. So far, there was no immediate claim of responsibility.
Meanwhile, back in Malaysia, the Kelantan state government called on residents in the state to avoid visiting southern Thailand for the time being following the attacks. The State Deputy Menteri Besar, Datuk Muhammad Amar Nik Abdullah, said, however, for those who had no choice but to enter the region, they must exercise caution.
Kalau benda itu berlaku, kita minta supaya berhati-hati. Dan kalau boleh dalam sehari 2 ni, kalau boleh elakkan daripada melawat ke selatan Thai, lagi baiklah untuk keselamatan.
Asked if there were Kelantanese people involved in the incident, he said the state government had not yet received any information on it.
In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has launched the Conservatives' general election campaign amid chaos in his party's ranks after the Queen and the monarch had agreed to dissolve Parliament ahead of the snap poll on December 12th. Speaking outside of Downing Street, Johnson kicked off the campaign with a speech promising a resolution to the Brexit crisis and taking aim at opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn. However, Johnson's campaign has been thrown into disarray as he faced calls to remove Alan Cairns as a Conservative candidate after the Welsh Secretary resigned over allegations that a former aide sabotaged a rape trial. Commons leader Jacob Rees-Mogg, meanwhile, also faced demands to resign after he suggested that Grenfell victims lacked the common sense to ignore the London Fire Brigade's stay-put advice. Sonia Chia stuns world number 4 Akane Yamaguchi in the China Open. Stay tuned. Sports badminton, the 2019 China Open. Malaysian shuttlers made a winning start into the championship with Sonia Chia stealing the limelight by pulling off a major upset when she defeated world number 4 Akane Yamaguchi of Japan in the first round of the women's singles.
The unseeded shuttler was forced to break a sweat in the opening set as she edged Akane 21-19 before winning the second set 21-16 to advance to the second round. She will next face Michelle Lee of Canada in the second round. Meanwhile, in the mixed doubles event, national top pair Chan Peng-sun and Goh Liu Ying beat Tom Jekyll and Delphine Delroux from France 21-19 in both sets. Waiting for them in the second round will be Thailand's Robin Tabling and Selena Piek. Also making it through to the second round were another mixed doubles pair, Goh Soon Huat and Lai Shivon Jamie, women's doubles pair, Chow Mi Kwan and Lee Meng Yen, as well as Goh Zifei and Nur Izzuddin in the men's doubles.
Now, 2 London entrepreneurs have created a music-making bouncy ball called the Odd Ball, which connects to a smartphone through Bluetooth to create sounds through speakers or headphones. Take a look as we wrap up Nightline this time around. I'm Azara Tagaya. Thank you for tuning in and take care.